So before we dive down into setting the foundation of any strategy, there's some really important factors that we need to look into. As you can see, I've laid them out behind me. So Jack and Jill did a great job of saving $40,000. It's very hard to do so. You'll also recall that they had their property valued at $520,000. Now they owe $400,000 on their property, which leads us to the figure of lazy money of $68,000. If we add up those two figures, you can see the total amount of funds that they have for deposits and costs for a property is $108,000. Now, one of the biggest mistakes a lot of investors make is they put themselves under unnecessary financial strain by using up all of their deposit and cost funds. So my number one rule when it talks about growing a long-term sustainable portfolio is you need to be able to enjoy life. You need to be able to sleep. This is why buffers are so important. When we look at buffers, we're really talking about two different types of buffers. The first one is a personal buffer. How much money do you need at any point in time so you can sleep easy at night? Is it enough funds to go on holiday? Is it enough funds to pay for the kids' school fees? Is it enough funds just in case the car breaks down so you can get it fixed up straight away? The second type of buffer is a property buffer. Now let's face it, property investment isn't an exact science. Things are going to pop up whether you like it or not. The tenants may not pay rent for a week. They may be vacant for a couple of weeks. The interest rates may go up. No matter what happens, we always set aside a specific property buffer just in case these types of things pop up. So in Jack and Jill's example, they've said to me, Drew, we're really comfortable to set aside $30,000 just in case. So as you can see, their buffer really is set aside. We do not touch those funds, which leads us down to this bottom figure. The amount of money that they have is $78,000, which they can use to contribute towards deposits and costs of a property. So that's the first thing. How much cash do you have and how much buffer are we going to set aside, which we do not touch? We then flip across and you can see behind me, we need to understand how the banks see us. Now there's two things which the banks will look at. The first one is what is your borrowing capacity? They'll look at your borrowing capacity based on your income. So Jack and Jill, they have a very good combined income of $150,000. They also know that they've got their own personal mortgage, they've got an investment mortgage. We're going to start to tear up some of those credit cards and store cards to really improve what we call their borrowing capacity or servicing. So as it stands today, we've gone to numerous different lenders, and this is really important. We don't just go to one bank, we go to a whole range of lenders to get the best possible option. We've done that, and the average has come back at $850,000 from a borrowing capacity point of view. Tick, that's step number one as to keeping the banks happy. The second thing we really need to focus on is what is our buying power? And this is where a lot of people make mistakes or don't quite understand what buying power actually means. So let's go through it quickly. Your buying power really refers to the amount of deposits and costs that you have the ability to contribute towards an investment purchase. Now, we always work on the numbers or the assumptions that you need to put down a minimum of 10% deposit. We also know that properties don't purchase themselves, and there are some costs involved with that. Now, whether that's things like your stamp duty, your legal fees, your lender's mortgage insurance, we group them all together and we assume 5% for costs. Now, there's different tips and strategies that we can use to really increase your buying power significantly, which we'll go through in a sec, because it really does apply to Jack and Jill's personal strategy. But if we have a look behind me, their personal borrowing capacity, based on their income and all their liabilities, is $850,000. We then dive down and we have a look at their buying power, which is $520,000. So as investors, we know it's either one of these two things that's going to prevent us from growing a long-term sustainable portfolio. So when we look at Jack and Jill, 850 capacity, 520 buying power. So straight away, the basis of our strategy is how do we increase our buying power? How do we increase the amount of money that we can use to get equity out and rinse and repeat the actual strategy? So I'm going to go through in my next video how we actually bring all this information together and form the basis of our strategy.